Take a look at a globe. Spin it. The blue parts, the green parts, the brown parts. See all of that? It's huge. Earth is truly enormous and there are tons of resources. Enough room for everyone. So why are we always fighting over something? Wars, conflicts, fighting over land and resources? What's all this terrible drama about? It makes no sense. Honestly, it's borderline crazy. We live on a planet full of resources and act like we're in a lifeboat running out of supplies. Like that joke about the students and the potatoes. But if you look at the history books, you hear a different story. Scarcity is a weapon, and debt is a source of power. And this story repeats itself over and over, from ancient empires to today. We're told that resources are scarce, that everyone has to fight for their share, even if it means taking it from others. But what if that's a lie? Maybe it's not about scarcity of resources, but about excessive greed. Let's travel back in time to the 16th century. Look at the Spanish conquistadors landing in the Americas. Hernán Cortés, a symbol of conquest, sets foot on Mexican soil, driven by a burning ambition to gain gold and glory for Spain. He was looking for his El Dorado, so to speak. But like many explorers of his time, Cortés was deeply in debt, just like some people today with their loans. He promised his men riches by sharing the spoils with them. It was a daring adventure, fueled by visions of immense wealth. A true gold rush. They crossed the ocean not only for king and country, but also to escape their own debt traps. From rags to riches, so to speak. This isn't a research expedition. This is debt collection, on a grand scale. And what about the native people of the Americas? They became unwilling hostages in this cruel imperial game. These conquistadors, deeply in debt, committed unimaginable atrocities for the promised reward. They didn't see the natives as human beings, but merely as obstacles in their path to self-enrichment. As the saying goes, money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure helps. Gold became the ultimate value, justifying theft, enslavement, and even genocide. It's like the story of the fisherman and his wife, but in reverse. The story of Cortés and his followers is a glaring example of how debt can turn any man into a monster. Almost like in Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. Backed into a corner, desperately clinging to life, crushed by the weight of debt, people lose their sense of right and wrong. They tell themselves, I have no other choice. I just want to survive. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. But in reality, the greed for money is a terrible force that can drive you to do things you never thought yourself capable of. It's like making a mountain out of a molehill. Let's jump to the 21st century. We consider ourselves more developed, more civilized. But the echoes of conquest still reverberate in conflicts worldwide. Let's look at the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country rich in resources but torn apart by violence, or Palestine, a land where people continue to lose their homes for new settlements, a people trapped in a grueling struggle for recognition, autonomy and freedom, or Ukraine, fighting for its very existence, with Russia, which is almost like a brother. It's like a family feud, fueled by two outside powers. What do these seemingly different conflicts have in common? Debt, economic instability, the struggle for control of resources, often fueled by external forces who profit from the chaos. The names and faces change, but the story remains the same. People suffering from poverty, inequality, and the burden of debt become pawns in the game of global powers, vying for control of power and resources. Part 5. The Burden of the State. How state debt fuels the flames of war. Not just individuals get caught in the vicious cycle of debt and violence. Entire countries do too. Due to weak economic performance, entire states fall into the debt trap, have to spend more and more money on loan repayments, and it becomes practically impossible to get out of this situation. Developing countries often borrow heavily from international organizations. Instead of investing in the well-being of their citizens, they have to prioritize loan repayments. And people's lives become increasingly difficult. This leads to sad consequences. Austerity measures destabilize the country, which leads to a further increase in debt. A vicious cycle. As a result, the state is forced to rely on foreign aid and new loans, thus becoming increasingly dependent. As the saying goes, you borrow other people's money for a while, but you pay with your own money forever. The debt grows like a snowball until it becomes completely unsustainable. And who profits from this? Rich countries and big corporations. They control the flow of money from the start and create a system where they always win. It's like a shell game. Whoever wins, the house always wins. And the bill for this global debt hell is paid by the poor people who live in poverty and destruction, who suffer from wars and conflicts. And there are more and more victims. Chapter 6. Monopoly of land, monopoly of land, monopoly of suffering. Land, the foundation of our lives, has become a tool of exploitation. From a world where people lived in harmony with nature and their community, we have arrived at a world where a small group of people control vast tracts of land. Remember how our ancestors lived in communities, how they valued the land. Large corporations gobble up agricultural land, comparable in size to small countries. Like Soyuz Multfilm once said, everyone for something, and we are for a world peace. But what if there is no peace because of land shortages? Poor people, indigenous people, are being driven from their land, and the gap between rich and poor is constantly widening, just like in Not Born Beautiful. Some live in luxury, others can barely make ends meet. Land monopoly is not just an economic problem. It is a source of social instability and conflict. Remember the Pugachev Rebellion, where the land issue can lead. When people lose access to vital resources, when they see their land being used without their consent, despair quickly turns into anger, and anger into violence. Section 7. On the brink, living beyond our means. Here's the thing. We're told we live in a system with limited resources and a stagnant economy. At the same time, we're told to buy more and more, take out loans, and spend money we don't have. Isn't that strange? Without economic growth, there can be no development. The Earth's resources are finite, and debt can't grow forever. It's like the fisherman and his wife. Our appetite grows, but the resources don't. Credit cards, mortgages, national debt. We're constantly pushed to buy unnecessary things with money we don't have. This vicious cycle of consumption and debt pulls us deeper and deeper. And a large part of this money flows into land. This means we're taking out loans to speculate on land. This is the root of the problem. If this continues, a financial crisis is unavoidable. It's like playing Russian roulette with our economy. We're exhausting the planet's resources, while perfectly good cars go to the landfill so we can buy new ones. Isn't that sad? And our debt is snowballing, reaching unimaginable proportions. This can't go on. We have to change something. If we don't change course, the planet will pay the price, and ultimately, so will we. And the price will be very high. It might seem like this vicious cycle of debt and environmental destruction is unbreakable. But that's not true. We have a choice. We have the power to change the situation. We can challenge the system that perpetuates this cycle. We can come together and demand real change. We can demand an end to land speculation and the abolition of taxes that crush working people. This means changing the entire complex and confusing tax system. Abolish income tax, sales tax, and all other taxes, and introduce a single land value tax. This would make the system fairer and simpler for everyone. And it would help prevent land speculation. The advantage of this proposal is that unused land and vacant houses are basically inefficiently used resources. They exist in every city, and they are not taxed. If all this land were taxed, its owners would be forced to either develop it or sell it. This would lead to a greater supply of housing and lower prices, possibly even down to the level of the tax. This is especially relevant for regions with housing shortages. In addition, the lower tax burden for citizens and businesses would have a positive impact on the economy. Free money would be used for purchases and investments, which would boost the economies of the regions. Taking out loans for land speculation means deviating from the real goal. Loans should be used for creating jobs and developing production. Instead of investing money in building roads, factories, and businesses, we only think about how we can buy land and resell it at a higher price. This is not how the economy grows. If we end land speculation, money will be invested in production. This will enable the financing of more businesses, create new jobs, and increase the production of goods and services. By focusing on production, we stabilize the economy and reduce price fluctuations in land. Part 8. Breaking the vicious cycle. In a world drowning in debt, there's still a glimmer of hope. For example, if we stop speculating with land, life will become much simpler. We face huge challenges, and it seems like this system is designed to keep tormenting us. We have to face the uncomfortable truth. We are part of this system. This might be painful, but it's necessary. But change always starts with awareness of the problem. Only then can we find a real solution. No more talk of scarcity. Let's destroy the lie we've been fed. No more competition as if it were a zero-sum game. We are all allies in building a better future. If we share, there's enough land for everyone. Enough opportunities and resources. Just like compassion. We can create a world where every human being can thrive, not just survive. A world where mutual aid and empathy are the norm. Like in the story of the giant turnip together without greed. But for this, we have to join forces, be persistent, and never give up. People all over the world are advocating for a more just and sustainable future. This movement will continue until real change happens. Like back when the Baikal-Amur main line was built together. Each of us has to start by rethinking our own actions. In our everyday lives, we have to ask ourselves whether we are contributing to the systems that perpetuate the cycle of debt and destruction. It's a journey we take both individually and collectively. We are all interconnected, and the life of each and every one of us affects others. Our actions have consequences. Even the smallest deeds matter. Every little bit helps. We have the responsibility to create a better world for future generations. Let's make a right, just, and sustainable world a reality. Part 9. The choice of compassion, our collective responsibility. Even if you see news about conflicts in faraway countries on TV, don't turn away. Think about why this is happening. Think about how debt, inequality, and fighting over resources make conflicts worse. As the saying goes, poverty is no disgrace, but it's a huge mess. And now think about how we can solve these problems. What can you do personally? Remember Chekhov's words, do good, my friends. We can't close our eyes to these problems. The future of the planet and all of us depends on whether we can join forces. It takes more than one person to make a difference. Let's build a better world together by helping each other. Let's live not out of greed but out of compassion. Let's not compete, but cooperate. Let's not just exist but live happily. What do you think? We look forward to your comments and subscriptions to the channel. Thank you. See you next time.
Gus.